Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host, Josie Way, and tonight we have with us as co-host Ken Demers and Kathy Medeiros. Our guest, I'm pleased to announce, is MJ, as she likes to be called, Guadalupe. And she's a lifetime healer and medium. And it's, where did you get started? I know you were very young.
I was probably about 5 when I realized I could see and hear spirits, and kind of just worked with it. And when I spoke out loud, I was told to shush. And then as a teen, they started coming to me in dreams and other ways. And then as an adult, I decided it needed to be open and I needed to be out so that I could help others.
And you've been doing it ever since.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, for years, you had other jobs and stuff, but now you do this full time.
Yes, I do this full time, but my past does help my present.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the medical field, dementia specialist, so a lot of that helps me with what I do today, with my privacy law that I use, the HIPAA, confidentiality, and my compassion.
And you're empathic and can tune in to people's illnesses.
Yes.
And help relieve them.
Yes, some people hide a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, a lot of stuff is deep ingrained and buried.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a 50-cent definition of empathic healer?
Empathic healer. Empathic is what I am, is what I feel.
Okay, give us a definition of that first.
So empathic to me is what I feel with everything from my soul and my heart. Healing is something the person I work with does.
Okay.
They allow me to guide them to help themselves heal.
Empathic just being an intuitive knowing?
Yes.
And caring. There's a
comes,
caring that goes with it too.
Yes, there's a lot of compassion. For me, and being an empath is, I will feel your emotions. So energetically, I'm plugged into your heart, your emotions, your personality.
That's got to be scary.
It can be, I think it's especially scary to children when they don't know how to ground and protect. And it's not always easy to ground.
No, not.
Even as an adult, though, it's hard sometimes, never mind a child.
Correct. I'm having a hard time here grounding because I'm nervous. I won't lie. I was like, oh.
We'll get you to do this a few dozen more times and it should go away.
And I'll just shake it off.
So how does it help you being empathic, though, being able to help people find the right direction for the healing that they need?
Well, that's when I start using my intuition, and I hear guides and angels, and I get that knowing. And with that knowing, what I do is, with their energy, is I will just say things gently to them, and through it comes out what they need to release or what they might need to heal. Everything I do, whether it's medium, whether it's energy healing, it's so the person can heal and move on and go forward with their life.
If you have, most mediums have relatives on the other side who are anxious to talk, and they're going to present themselves to you to use your voice. Who gets priority? The relatives, the angels, the higher level spirit guides?
I don't really think there's any. It's whoever I feel is what I do. I respect all those realms.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to ask is, if you're dealing with a relative and an archangel or somebody steps in and wants to give you a message, do you kind of shush the relative and let the archangel do the talking?
The way I get it, the archangels can come in over a relative, but the relative usually steps back on their own. It's I call it like a heavenly respect or realm respect. Nobody really butts in except for their relatives. All the relatives will talk over other relatives, and in my head I kindly ask them, please, one at a time, give me hits one at a time, let me feel one at a time so that I'm not overwhelmed and can deliver their messages in a timely and nice manner, not like, oh my God, you guys could all chill out.
I've had the occasion of meeting people that were relatively new mediums, and they were just overwhelmed by everybody crowding in on them.
It can be very overwhelming when you're first opening up. It's a communication. You need to be able to communicate with spirit as well and say, you're giving me too much. Don't be afraid to admit where you're weak, especially with spirit, because spirit controls us. I don't control spirit.
So it's like developing a rapport with the spirit side.
Yeah, exactly.
And then to how they can come through and when and how long they can be with you.
Yeah. I have a brief story about the Who Gets Through. I was having a sketch by Rita Berkowitz.
Rita Berkowitz.
And you never know who's going to come through. And it turns out she told me, your guides wanted to come through, but your grandmother insisted that she knew me first. So I have a sketch of my grandmother.
That's cute.
I can see that happening.
Yeah, which is funny.
Their sense of humor here on Earth is the same sense of humor they carry, I find, into the heavens.
How does your intuitive healingness help the person heal?
How can I put this? It's really not me, it's them allowing me to do what I need to do. So I feel whether I'm doing an energy healing, a mediumship, I'm providing a healing. Because what I do when I work as a medium, I'm really putting out, I want that person to heal. I want them to be able to move forward in their grief and get through that, or hear what that message they need to hear.
All right, you're not talking about physical healings then. You're talking more about emotional stuff.
Correct.
Okay. Does your intuitiveness of if somebody has, I don't know what an example of a physical healing might be, broken hand or whatever. You're not talking about that type of healing. You're more
I'm talking
focused on.
more focused on the emotional
Okay.
and an energetic level. People do come to me that'll say my back hurts. I will give them energy. Sometimes I'm working on somebody and I might feel, I'll be like, okay. I have certain signs I use and I'm like, have you been diagnosed with breast cancer? If they say no, I'll say okay. But you might, when's your next appointment with your doctor?
Yeah.
I won't tell them I'm not a doctor, I do not diagnose, and I don't ever say not to go to your doctor, but I will guide them gently where they need to be.
Yeah, if you're relatively skilled, you can feel something like a breast cancer because it's hotter. It shows up on thermographs that, that's some of the stuff, the pictures they take. They pick up the heat from the immature, dysfunctional cells developing too fast.
But even if when I'm doing Reiki, or if I'm standing near somebody, I'll be like, are you missing a gallbladder? Are you missing your pancreas? I'll just feel like a hole, and I'll be like, oh. But I don't just go up to somebody in a restaurant and go, you're missing your gall. There's a time and a place.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ethics that go with this.
You haven't been watching the Long Island Medium.
No, I haven't.
No, she's she feels compelled.
She feels
Sorry.
compelled to just
To
go to
just-
anybody on the street, or even in the grocery store.
Maybe that's just good TV or something too.
Maybe.
Well,
it might be,
you can be out and tell me if I'm wrong. Spirit will be like, hey. But you can say, not now, or you can write it down and give them a message. Because I don't want to just go to somebody in the middle of Stop and Shop and say, so your grandmother's here, because it could be a very emotional experience. It's not fair to put them in that position, I don't feel.
I've had people come up to me and Stop and Shop, and they'll be going through some kind of trauma, and they'll just start talking to me. They don't know me from a hole in the wall, but they'll just unburden their emotional problems on me.
You look like a good listener.
Maybe, but I can see me doing it the other way around just as easily too.
Yeah, it's interesting though how some people can just do that. In the middle of a store though, it's like feel connected with somebody and they feel like they can just, kind of dump whatever's going on with them, though, to a complete stranger, because they pick up on the end. It's like, oh, I can do this with this person. But, like with the mediumship, you can't just do that to, anybody on the street, though, because you don't know how they're going to be with this stuff, or even they're open to it, or they're just not ready to hear it. There's also a flip side to it, though, too.
And I say it depends on the person, the medium, the healer, where they hold themselves. Some people feel comfortable doing that, and I think that's their prerogative. I just know me, myself, I feel more comfortable giving that person a sacred place or a safe place.
Mm-hmm. But you're also a little more private person than I am. Mm-hmm. There's huge differences as far as that goes. I'm kind of talk to anybody about anything. That mentality. A friend of mine says if I stood next to a telephone pole, I'd get into a conversation with it.
I can see that.
So, and you're a little more reserved.
I am. Like I said, I think it depends on the person themselves.
Yeah.
And how they would handle their energy with other people's.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any wrong or right way of doing it. It's just a personal preference.
Now, I'm interested in energy healing. What's your modality?
Modalities.
So I'm a Reiki master. I do cranial temple activation 1.
Say that again slow.
Cranial temple activation level 1.
And that is what?
It goes into your divine blueprint and uses a lot of sacred geometry, and it's a download from Archangel Metatron.
And it does what?
It perts the Merkaba, which is sacred geometry, and it affects your pineal gland and all your glands to help you open up more psychically.
And how many levels is that one?
There's 3 levels to that, and I'm level 1. What I do offer a lot is, and what most of my clients would like, is my intuitive healings, and that's the way I explain it to people is you come in, you could get Reiki, you might have crystals, you might have an Indian drum playing on the radio, you might have angels singing. It all depends what my guides and their guides are telling me to provide for them. And I have one client who comes to me once a month, and he swears, he says, not one of these healings have been the same, but I felt good with all of them. So now that's mostly what I do. Unless somebody says to me, I just want Reiki, then I give them just Reiki.
I kind of have to think that it might be better to do with what somebody that's looking at your essence, as it were, from a non-physical eyes that can see the problems better, and that might have a better insight into what the problem-solving technique would be. So, I kind of like that idea.
And that's why as I started with Reiki, I realized that more and more stuff was coming out intuitively. And I just kind of started doing it and asking permission. I always ask permission to all my clients.
The gentleman that you're working with on a monthly basis, what kind of stuff does he get healings, and what are they? Physical, mental, emotional, blah, blah?
I work on all levels. So a lot of what I work on is emotional. I'm releasing blocks. I go back to releasing old stuff so that people can move forward. We tend to hold a lot of stuff inside
This
us.
life or past lives?
Sometimes both. It depends on the client. It depends on what guide's coming through, what they're telling me.
And
I do a lot of heart healings.
that's interesting.
I work a lot with people letting go, people moving forward. I work a lot with grief. A lot with grief. That tends to be the clients. I think your clients come to you. Your clients find you for a reason. And a lot of my clients, it's a lot of grief, and you don't just grieve people you've lost. I mean, you can grieve your health. You can grieve, your mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She doesn't remember your name anymore. You're grieving her. It's helping people work through that kind of emotion.
And they're aware of this healing? I mean, they can feel that they're getting a better outlook on life? Is that what's happening?
Mm-hmm. They do confirm it. They do say it. I mean, I haven't had anybody complain. I haven't had anybody say, well, that I don't feel different. They always say I feel lighter. I'm able to go forward. I actually work with some, without mentioning any names, I work with different people who do bereavement counselings, who have me come in and
Oh,
speak.
they're counselors. Okay, and they have you come talk to their
To
clients?
some
To
of
their clients?
Yes, to explain signs and different things to help them move forward as well.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I know one medium who's been on said that a lot of people have told her that they got more comfort from her mediumship than they got from
The grief counseling and stuff.
grief counseling. You know, not to put that down, but they had more immediate relief and connection with spirit.
And that's one of the reasons these particular counselors they've been to me, they've contacted me, they've had their own loss. And when they saw how it worked for them, they've had me step in, or they refer people to me. And it's kind of going hand in hand to get these people to move forward with their grief, knowing it's okay to go through those stages, that it's okay to be angry and different things, because people just think, oh, the loved one's gone, I miss them, and I'm not supposed to feel any of this. Yeah, you are. And they need to know it's okay, and they need to know that they're safe.
So a lot of your clients are referrals from like word of mouth advertising versus.
It's a lot of my, almost all of my clients are word of mouth. Or somebody will come see me and they'll like it and they'll tell their friends, and then their friends call. I really don't do that much advertising.
Yeah, you don't have to, really.
They'll find you. The
universe brings to you, what you need, and what we were talking about earlier. It brings to you who you are. What experiences you've had that you can help someone else with.
Correct. So I work as a medical intuitive. I've been in the medical field for 30 years. I work with grief. I've lost almost my entire family. So it's stuff I understand. It's stuff I've worked with. Not just spirit will talk to me. If somebody is in a coma, if somebody they're in a deep end stage of Alzheimer's, they've come through, where I've had my client actually say, this person's alive. And the first time I did it, it scared me. I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean this person's alive? I know everything I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe I'm not doing this right.
Yeah. No,
And
it's
then
known.
this person came up to me at the end of the day and called me and said, I called, and this person went into a coma at that time you said. So they can find ways to communicate, because once they're in those states, there's no ego. So they are able to. So a lot of people can communicate and not even be passed. It's come through a few
It's
times.
that in between though, where they feel that they can still communicate through.
Yeah,
Same thing with animals.
We had a girl with the church that her mother had severe Alzheimer's, and she was a medium herself, but she couldn't get through to her mother because she was too close. So I would give her messages from her mother.
When my mom passed, I was already open and doing what I'm doing, and I could not feel her or hear her for almost 2.5 years. And then one of my friends who's a medium said, sit down, I got a message out of the blue. I let out a lot of my grief, and then that was the Christmas I was able to smell her around me when I was doing the Christmas tree. And that's what I tell people is, don't feel like, oh, I'm not feeling them.
Yeah.
You're in your grief. You need to feel you and work on you before you can feel them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to feel spirit though when you're grieving such a loss.
It's kind of like we laugh to get the energy up. People move around to high energy. But when you're in grief, you're in very low energy.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to go even higher.
Yeah. And a lot of grief is about multiple losses. You may lose one individual, but it could also be you've lost income from that individual, and suddenly your family's affected. You may have to move. You may have to go through numerous changes.
And they're going through all those stages for every single one of those things.
Yeah.
It's not just I'm dealing with grief for this, it's all of it.
I see it at work occasionally, someone who's lost a spouse and what they're going through. They have to come and get help from the state, help.
Grief just tears some people apart. So it's
Yeah, and the
unlivable.
life changes, so it makes it hard too, though, so.
And with my healings, I also work with PTSD, and I'm trying to
That's real important
work
now.
with some of the military to give back to our community. PTSD,
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
where I'll use certain incense, and I'll use like a weighted blanket, and I'll work with them. I offer Military Mondays. I offer
Excuse me,
Reiki at half price for anybody who's been in the military and their spouse.
Yeah, you told me you were starting that.
A lot of people will say to me, you empower people, and I don't empower people. What I do is I give them the tools to empower themselves and kind of take back what their divine blueprint, what they came to this earth for, to help clear out that stuff so that they can really be them, their true essence.
Now, do you work outside of your home, or do you go to metaphysical centers to help these people?
I work out of medical physical centers.
Okay.
Which one?
That's just another
I
one.
work out of the Soul Purpose in Swansea. Jessica Kozak's the owner. I work out of Waves in Motion.
Is that like a
Massage.
farmhouse?
No.
Where's that one? Where is it?
That's right in Swansea, right on Route 6, on La Pointe
It's
Plaza.
a tiny business plaza, I know
It's
it
a
is.
little
She just
plaza.
moved. Yeah. It's near Matela, right?
Yes. It's a very beautiful place. I was very lucky to meet Jessica. She was my mentor, and now she's my friend. And I also work out of Waves in Motion in Somerset. It's a massage. I rent a room out of there
What's
as
the name of
well.
it? Waves in Motion?
Waves in Motion
That's a neat
Massage.
name. I
It
like
is.
that.
And it's like a little wave with yin yang. And the owner of that is Nancy Almeida. She's really, really nice as well.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a good massage therapist.
She is.
Yeah, if somebody needed to contact you, you have a website.
Yes. It's the tranquil-turtle.com.
Say that again, slow.
So I have trouble talking slow. Tranquil-turtle.com.
Dash turtle. And
Yes.
where'd the turtle come from?
So, like, being on TV makes me nervous. Being seen made me very nervous, and I came up with Tranquil Turtle because I love turtles and I love animals, and
So
I
you
work with
pull
animals.
your head back in?
Well, actually, I didn't realize it until a friend of mine one day, I bought a banner that said Mary Jo Guadalupe, and she goes, yes, the turtle's coming out of its shell, and I was like, oh my God. So everybody saw it, but they didn't, my friends won't say that to me because they know we need to realize it ourselves. When I realized, it was like they were doing the happy dance, and I was like, that was like a brick over the head. So even that, I'm in the process of changing my website so that it does say my full name and not just Turtle, Tranquil Turtle, but
I like Tranquil Turtle.
I kind of like it. So it's a little bit of both because I do work with animals and I do
Yeah, I
work
was
with
going to
animal
ask you about
totems.
the animals.
Yeah, when I saw your little questions that you want us to ask you, which we haven't done yet.
That's
but
okay.
On your thing in there, I noticed that you had, seems to be a subtle reference to animal communication.
When I reference animal communication, well, live animals can talk to me, speak to me when they want, but it's people will ask me as a medium, do pets come through? All the time. Yes, pets go to heaven. It's something I want to share with the world. I mean, animals come through with the strongest messages. I had a couple come to an event that we did just for animals, and that's all I did. And this couple sat in front of me, and I was like, whoa. And I was talking about their dog, and I'm like, he's saying, you're wearing his ashes, but I don't feel a necklace, but I'm like this, like I feel a heart. And I was a little confused on how this animal was communicating how to get this across, and they both started crying. They actually took some of the ashes and put it in the ink of a tattoo ink, and they both had tattoos of their heart.
That's bizarre.
On their heart of a dog
I
print.
have heard of that.
And I was like, really? And I mean, and that's what I love. Spirit will always put me in awe, always. That validated for that couple so much that they're
You couldn't
fur
make,
baby.
You couldn't make
You
that
can't
one
make it up. And I tell clients that all the time, like, I can't make this stuff up, even if I tried. My imagination is just not that good.
So if we take you up to the park somewhere and we find a pet elephant, can we get you to talk to him?
It depends if the elephant wants to talk to me. Same thing as spirit. There's times I can, and there's times I can't.
And what would an elephant say to you?
I don't know.
You gotta know these things.
I have no clue. It
Jeez.
depends. It depends.
Yeah,
goldfish.
so they
Does.
feel like humans do. though.
They're
That's
very
why-
skittish. I didn't know I could do it. For instance, I would walk into my brother-in-law's house, 5 minutes, and I would walk in and I would say, "So your dog has an ear infection," and he would be like, "How do you know?" I heard the dog say it, but I don't know how I knew.
Yeah.
Or I'll run into a dog at the park and I'll be petting it, and I'll say to the owner, "His arthritis is getting worse in his right hip, but he's upset because you brought him to the park, but you didn't give him his medicine this morning." And I'm like, where did that come from? And I just started noticing I was saying stuff out loud. But sometimes the animals are like, "I don't want nothing to do with you." Their personality is no different than people. Some people come to me for a reading and they sit there like this because they're afraid and they block the energy. The same thing with animals. They have their own
Horses?
personality. I haven't worked with a horse yet.
I think that would be fun.
Yes,
They're-
I want to talk to horses. I also want to give Reiki to animals. I work
Yeah.
really well with energy healing with animals.
There's people that specialize in that. So, how about fish? I've never met anybody that did fish, so, I didn't meet them. I read an article about, what's that illness where they got hyperactive minds?
ADHD.
ADD or ADHD?
No, children that are just like super smart, and they can look at a car and memorize a whole building or something.
Well, they used to call it idiot savant because they were very smart in some ways and
Yeah,
very
anyway,
slow
somebody
in others.
in that nature, a young boy, they took him down to one of the marine parks in Florida, and the dolphins went absolutely crazy to be next to this kid. So I, would love to know what was transpiring between the two of them. And
Yeah.
Dolphins are very high communicators. Animals are very spiritual. Dogs, cats, all animals. But I really believe aquatic animals, especially water, is a conductor.
cetaceans, yeah.
They can speak very clearly to those who can hear. And most people who have like I want to say like an autism, an ADHD.
They're hearing it.
These kids
Yeah,
have
this was
more,
like an autism
they have
thing.
more love in their pinky finger than most of us have in our whole body. And their receptors and what they hear in spirit is stronger than probably 5 people put together who are mediums.
now,
Well, it's very distracting for them. That's why it's hard for them to be present with our
Focus, yeah.
earthly
what you
stuff.
just
And
said,
those dolphins feel that love and they feel that energy. It's not just the connective telepathy, it's that love.
now you said something a second ago. I'm trying to
We're-
remember what it was. I
we're
lose my
almost
train
running out
thoughts
of
awful
time.
easy.
Ken, I need to say thank you to our audience for being with us because we're just about out of time. Thank you to MJ for being with us. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Ken. Please come back and join us. Now we have the last few minutes of the show that we can flow through with. Now, what were you saying, Ken?
Well, I was interested in the kids that have this mental autism. You were saying that you could communicate to people in comas and that. Have you ever tried to communicate with an autistic child?
No, but they've communicated with me. Like I was having this child and I kept saying his name over and over again. And I kept saying, "Who is this?" And it was just, I was at home and I'm like, what is this? Why am I feeling this way? And then I went to someplace for a healing and I said what I was hearing and the woman said, "What?" Her son was autistic and she said to me, she says, "I've been working on him and talking to him when he's sleeping, telling him to contact somebody so that I know he understands me." And I told him to say that. But she thought he was going to go to somebody else. But instead he came to me and I had no clue.
That's super
So
interesting.
it was pretty amazing and it gave her
It is.
such validation that her son could hear her, which healed her.
How did
her
she
in the
use
heart.
it at that point? Do you know?
It is amazing. And we have to say goodnight.
Stay tuned so we find out the next time.
We're going to have MJ back. So please join us again.
Thank you. How was that?
Not so bad,
They're
huh?
still open.